In the sweltering heat of September 1893, a young German immigrant named Louis Mueller stood at the threshold of American opportunity. At just 21 years old, Louis had already lived in America for 8 years, transforming from Luhr of Bremervörde to Louis of the American frontier. His weathered hands told the story of a young man who had worked alongside his father, 10 hours a day, 15 cents an hour, building a new life in a foreign land. The Cherokee Strip Land Run was about to unfold, an event that would later be recognized as one of the largest competitive events in world history. As Louis gazed across the dusty landscape, he could scarcely comprehend the magnitude of what was about to happen. Around him, 150,000 souls from every corner of America and beyond had gathered, their dreams as vast as the Oklahoma sky. The air on September 16th hung heavy with dust and anticipation. America groaned under the weight of its worst economic depression to date, driving desperate men and women to seek salvation in the promise of land. The federal government had opened 42,000 parcels in what was once Cherokee hunting grounds, land that had been guaranteed by treaty after the Cherokees endured the brutal Trail of Tears decades earlier, a journey that claimed thousands of lives. Louis had brought his older brother Henry and their friend Fisher on this journey. Together, they had traveled to Arkansas City, Kansas, passing countless prairie schooners bearing hopeful slogans like Oklahoma or Bust. Louis would later recall with a wry smile, most of them went back busted. What greeted them in Arkansas City was a scene of shocking squalor. Thousands of hopeful settlers lived in makeshift tents, many on the verge of starvation. The registration process was grueling. Lines stretched for miles, 4 people abreast, with waits lasting days under the punishing sun. Louis stood in line for 2 days, finally reaching the 5th position when the office closed. Determined not to lose his place, he slept on the ground that night, rising with the sun to secure his registration. The atmosphere crackled with tension and opportunism. When Louis sought a celebratory beer after his registration, he found himself nearly trapped in a gambling den, his German accent and proclaimed ignorance of card games his only salvation from being fleeced. As noon approached on that fateful September day, the scene along the borders of the Cherokee Strip transformed into a tableau of determination and desperation. Horses tossed their heads nervously, wagons creaked, and bicycles balanced precariously as the minutes ticked by. A solid band of humanity stretched as far as the eye could see, poised to claim their piece of the American dream. At precisely noon, a cannon's blast shattered the tension. Soldiers fired rifles into the air, signaling the start of the race along the entire stretch of the Cherokee Strip. In one thundering moment, the earth trembled as thousands surged forward, on horseback, in wagons, on bicycles, and even jumping from moving trains. The chaos was immediate and devastating. Wagons overturned, horses stumbled, and human bodies fell beneath trampling hooves. The race had barely begun when tragedy struck. A woman was killed when her horse fell on her. Broken limbs became commonplace. At one steep ravine, bicyclists were forced to abandon their attempts while horses broke legs attempting the crossing. Louis, Henry, and Fisher pressed forward, their hopes high. But several miles in, horror unfolded before them. The prairie was ablaze. People were dying in the flames. With instinctive urgency, Louis drove his horses to top speed, finding a gap where the fire burned low. They raced across scorched earth, the heat searing their skin, only to face another wall of flames ahead. Those people that set those fires must have been some that were out in the lead. Louis would later recount, his voice still tinged with disbelief. That was murder. Indeed, horsemen in the vanguard had deliberately started fires to eliminate competition. Eventually, Louis spotted a promising piece of bottomland with a creek and trees, a settler's dream. His hopes soared until he noticed what appeared to be a haystack with a man sitting inside, shotgun in hand. The stranger had constructed a crude shelter, cleared the surrounding area, and established a campfire by the creek. His message was clear: "Stranger, move on." Louis, wisely respecting the barrel of a shotgun, continued his journey. The land run had ended for Louis Mueller without a claim. He was far from alone in his disappointment. Only about 20 to 30% of those who filed claims would fulfill their rights to keep the land. Many of the best parcels went to Sooners, those who had illegally entered the territory before the official start, slipping past soldiers or bribing them for early access. Louis's story, however, did not end with the failed land run. He would go on to marry Alvina, a fellow German immigrant, and father 3 daughters. By 1919, the Mueller family had settled in Pawhuska, Oklahoma, where Louis established himself as a master builder. His legacy would grow to include homes, churches, fairground buildings, and even the first motel in north-central Oklahoma. When oil was discovered on Osage land near Pawhuska in the 1920s, transforming the Osage people into the richest per capita in the world, Louis found himself in demand. He constructed buildings for the Osage Nation and built homes for its members, including one for Hodamoy, known as John Stink, who preferred roaming the woods to living indoors. Though Louis Mueller lived a rich and fulfilling life, those who knew him well occasionally caught him gazing westward, a distant look in his eyes as he murmured, "That sure was a nice piece of bottomland on the Strip." The Cherokee Strip Land Run had lasted just 1 day, but its impact on Louis and on America would echo through generations.